Hey, welcome back, guys. So we are looking at the layouts of our alliance members here to give some helpful tips and tricks to those guys to help their bases out. Anyone can actually gain feedback on this though, because you can make bases similar. You can also try and attack these bases and see how effective they actually are. And again, these are only suggestions. I'm not a be-all end-all experts at the game, and I don't have the absolute best strategies always. I've just been playing for a very long time since launch, so I do have a wealth of experience under my belt. So we're going to take a look here at two more bases, and it's going to be King aaryan1. If you followed me at all, you know I'm horrible with pronunciation, so that was probably butchered, but I'm sorry. That's the best I could do. Alright, so we're taking a look here, a 2700 trophy base, pretty high level base here. You're noticing that most bases are now having snake towers as their dominant tower, and that's because they're just currently probably the strongest tower in the game, especially if you don't know how to defend or attack against them. They are very, very weak to cannons. That's their main faults. So you'll notice now I've been using cannons nonstop for the last like month or two in raids, maybe about a month, and they've been really, really effective against the snake towers. And the other way is the hero just kind of walks around them and avoids them. So we'll take a look just quickly. So like say if this is a snake tower right here, this tower and like this tower, then you can actually just walk on the side over here, the very furthest side of those towers, and you won't take hardly any damage from the snake towers. The way to counter that for a defending standpoint is having a snake tower here and having a snake tower here, so they're like across from each other. So then you have just poison on top of poison both sides. So now the hero has to rush through either the middle or the sides, and they're going to take a massive amount of poison damage. So utilizing snake towers like that is a more effective way to get around them for advanced players. For average players that really don't know any better, they're going to get devoured by the snake towers pretty much regardless of where they are. But if you end up getting higher, like in probably the 2500s, you're going to see more players that are more knowledgeable, that know more about tactics and strategy, that have tested things out, that have watched other players' videos, watch some of my videos, watch some of Snick's videos, watch some of, I believe it's Flowen's. Again, I apologize, I don't have the names correct. But those videos, they teach you how to deal with these towers pretty effectively. So they know better, and to kind of counter that, having them across from each other is a great overlay of poison and damage effects. So I like a setup like this because if these, again, are poison towers, depending on which way the tower is actually placed, because I can't recall for the life of me right now if the tower is going to be facing this way. I think it is, yeah. It's going to be facing the first road. So this is going to be like a double poison if they were both snake towers. Over here you just have one tower. So even though it looks like it's a double layup, you don't have to worry about these because these are all going to be dead most likely when you run up through here. On this style of base, he has a huge amount of DPS in this corner right here. You can see, and there's blockade after blockade after blockade. So you're kind of stuck here until your Sonic Blast comes back, or if you don't have Sonic Blast, you're really stuck here because these blockades have a lot of life. Sonic Blast, this spell right here, the purple one, is like ultra effective against barriers and blockades. It just devours them, eats them for breakfast. So you want to make sure you have that, especially as you get higher up in the leaderboards. It's the second to last spell you unlock. And utilizing a corner like this, it allows you to try and kill the hero in this area. The only downside that I see to this base layout is there's a very small choke point in the beginning for ranged troops. So pretty much it means most of your reinforcement troops are probably going to get past this area. There's only this one spot right here where the reinforcement troops are going to sit and kind of like attack. It's not that large of a space. Sure, it can hit 3 different areas, but as this like fills up, you'll only be able to put like say maybe 5 or 6 archers or blasters around in this area, and then once it kind of like forms its own little blockade, so no other troops will be able to actually help and pew pew away and shoot from that side, because they just won't. So they'll start walking past that little blockade and going around. So for this, it's hard to do. I'm trying not to kind of like tweak the layouts as much. But what I would probably recommend doing is moving this road up one and curving right here. So getting rid of this tower in the middle and moving it up right here to make a curve. So then now you have like about 2 to 3 connection path in this whole corner right here. So now there's a lot more connectivity, a lot more choke points, and a lot more troops can actually get stuck right there and start attacking from the long range side. You do want to have a heavy focus like DPS like he has here, because this is where you're going to end up killing people, especially if they've rushed forward. It's good to have the blockades and barricades like one apart each, and you typically don't want to have them double hittable on the corner, but in a situation like this, having a blockade everywhere would probably be a good idea. I think having 2 snake towers right there would probably be ideal. You do want to typically have behind your blockades firebolt towers, because the firebolt towers cannot be hit with a spell, whereas if you have a skull tower or a arrow tower or any other kind of tower or snake tower, you can actually hit them with a spell by going to the corner right here in the tip, and this spell will hit the tower and the blockade. So it's interesting to note here that he's using a lot of paladins, and it's something you don't really see that often in the higher levels, because they're not that effective once you get up in the higher trophy range. Paladins, they don't have that much life. They're very, very slow. They don't do a lot of damage, and they pretty much die in one spell. So they really lose their effectiveness once you get higher up, and you want to kind of focus more on ranged troops. So I would take out pretty much all of these paladins, put more either archers or blasters. For his setup, some more gargoyles possibly, because the choke point would be a little bit bigger if you made that change right there. He also has another little choke point right here, and then this is a fairly small choke point. So yeah, I would take out the paladins, put in frosters for sure. It doesn't show frosters in here. He may have some, a very small amount, but frosters are very, very effective. Archers are blasters. They do a tremendous amount of damage. Same thing with the gargoyles. So that is the main feature that here I'd give you, King Aaryan, is to take out all of your paladins in your waves, start putting more archers, blasters, and gargoyles in there, a mix of those guys with a little bit of frosters sprinkled in, and you should see probably a pretty big improvement in your defense right there. Overall, your defense is pretty good. I would recommend moving that up one spot right there. And then the only downside here is there's no like super hard to reach tower position in your base. So everything everything can be hit with the hero directly. There's nothing that he has to like run all the way through the base to get to. But that would require pretty much a complete redesign of your base, and so we're not going to do that in this kind of video. But yeah, overall this is a very, very solid base, and again, you just keep leveling up your towers, and eventually you'll start jumping rapidly in the trophy range. And it's just tweaking a little things like this, and depending on how many snake towers, I touched about this before, is you don't want to have like 10 snake towers. That's overkill. You want to probably have like 5 or 6 snake towers total in your base, and then you want to have the rest scattered out. Predominantly more firebolt towers, so like 5 or 6 snake towers, like 4 or 5 firebolt towers, and then the rest skull towers. That to me would be the best setup that you could have in a base. So we are now going to go look at another base here. We're going to go look at Joao the Badass. So he's a little bit lower here, 2,400 trophies. So this is roughly where we're getting into like the middle trophy range, in my opinion, is like 1,500 to like 2,500 trophy range. And this is where people may not have all the towers unlocked, may not have all the monsters unlocked, especially now with the new monster upgrade. So the gargoyles, depending on how high his gargoyles are, can be really effective or they can be really trashy. If you only have level 3 gargoyles that aren't maxed out, that aren't, I believe max is level 4. I could be wrong on that, but you pretty much you need max level gargoyles. If you are going to use gargoyles, you have to have max level gargoyles. If you don't have them, don't use them, because the level 3 or level 2 gargoyles, they die really, really easy to spells. They don't have hardly any life, and you can kill them before they even get damage off. Where max level gargoyles, you might be able to kill a couple occasionally, but they can do a lot of damage most of the time because they explode before they die. So that is huge. Mummies, I'm not a fan of mummies in defense at all. They're very slow moving. They do have a stun effect, but the stun radius isn't that large, and it doesn't work on the hero. They cost a ton of morale points as well, and they don't do that much damage. They do an okay amount of poison damage, but it's still a low amount for the amount of morale points that it costs. And you're, in my opinion, you're way off better using archers, blasters, even more gargoyles if they are max level, frosters, and you do want to have at least a few mortars in here to have some poison damage just scattered throughout. So take out the mummy, put in, if you don't have any mortars, put in mortars for sure. If you do have a couple mortars already, just buff up your archers and blasters because everything else looks really solid. Going through towers, good setup here, a lot of firebolts, a lot of snakes, and then a few skulls. So for the layout, we haven't talked about this at all. This is actually a very, very good layout for gargoyles. Bases that are intertwined like this, all these choke points, means that as you are running through it, you're going to get bombarded by potentially a wave over here. This is going to come up in like, oh, it's gargoyles, attack. And then a new wave is going to come out right here. So you're going to potentially have 2 waves of gargoyles swarming at you at the same time. And that is just deadly, especially if they are max level gargoyles. Because, again, it's hard for them to die if they're max level gargoyles. Most likely they get off their bomb and explode on you and do a great amount of damage to the hero. So getting a double swarm of gargoyles where you have, like, say, 10 gargoyles coming at you from left and right, it's pretty damaging and pretty impressive. So you'll notice that, especially in the beginning, too, when you come up here, the first wave is going to be like right over here. The second wave is going to be coming over here. So the first wave is going to come down slowly, and then the second wave is going to come right here, and it's going to jump this choke point and just bomb you. And then the first wave is going to come and bomb you. And then, I mean, the third wave is going to come and bomb you as well. It's really, really damaging. So when you are utilizing gargoyles, this is the style of base that is the most effective for them. I love this little choke point right here as well. He connects this layer with this layer right here. So if he has a wave coming up through here and it bombs him, and then he has another wave that's right here, it's going to bomb him again. So this is probably one of the better, if not best, layouts I've seen for a gargoyle style base. I definitely love this style of layout for gargoyles. With a base like this, it's not necessarily that much about towers, because most of your damage is probably going to be coming from the gargoyles. The tower is going to do a nice amount of damage, but the big chunk of damage is going to be these gargoyles. The gargoyles just blow up the king tremendously. So tower placement isn't that important in this style of base, and you do want to make sure you utilize hard to reach positions. This position over here might be able to actually hit a little bit on this corner, which would be great. I don't recall if it actually can. That would be something you have to test in there. And then other than that, the tower positions, it's scattered fairly nicely, so you're going to be taking constant damage over time, because as you run through the base, you're going to take these towers down, and then you're not really going to have much time to recover. You might be able to recover. You sit over here and wait, and then you run forward, and now it's just constantly towers after towers after towers. There's no like safe spot anywhere. So yeah, so this is a very, very solid base. And I would definitely take out the mummies. That's probably the only thing holding you back right now. And then, of course, leveling up your towers as well. But overall, a great job here.